G'day mate, welcome back to Factorio with me, JD. This is going to be the last episode, the finale. We're at 7,800 rockets launches, which is way above the actual subscriber count of the channel, but that is because there have been so many supporter launches between our giant Patreon list, our even more giant Twitch list that spans from there to there, along with our very, very short YouTube members list. Members, you guys got some catching up to do. But with all that said, many launches, but I do know we're coming to the end. The end shall be today's episode. The other good news is no more reading names in this episode. We're all down to generic YouTube subscriber numbers. So this episode is going to be a base tour, a quick fix-up for the triple supporters, which have had some special requests, and along with saving the few mini-me's that were lost in the making of this series. But with all that said, let's run the intro. So, with the intro out of the way, let's click the on button. Let's get some launches happening. We are already at 181,000 rocket launches. This is the most rockets I've ever launched in a YouTube series, at least. I think personally I have a few bases that are a little bit over this, but we'll leave that one there. In saying that, the special requests I've had from supporters is varied. I have had some supporters ask me to launch off some mini-me's. I have had some supporters ask me to launch off nukes. I have had some supporters ask me to do a few different things, but honestly, I write things down on post-it notes, and either cats or children take them away. We'll leave it at that. Destroy them, whatever it happens to be. So what we're going to do is, in the honor of every triple supporter, which Mark, Granite Hand, Boomer, which wanted the names of his pets up here instead, Black Wind, I want to say, I'm forgetting names. Noop, BTG, C. Smith, Blastfeel. I can't remember if the others are. Look, there's a couple of triple supporters that choose to support on both Patreon, Twitch, and YouTube, and because of that, I am going to, as a supplementary course, launch off a batch of spiders, because spiders, I figure, are probably the most expensive thing we have in the base. That's not going fast enough. Let's do things JD style. Yeah, that seems a bit better. Spiders are probably the most expensive thing we can build in the base, considering the stuff that we have been launching this series, but we'll cover those in a second. So I'm going to launch off a full batch of... Hang on. We'll find some bonus spiders. What's that? 20, that's a full batch. So we'll launch off a full batch of spiders. We're going to throw these in the supporter rockets. So that's the first one done. You are... Wow. You never outputted. I wonder... Well, actually, I don't wonder. It's going to be an immense amount of space sirens I lost by that never output. Why did I never output that? Because I'm an idiot. That was meant to pass through there. Well, that's a whole bunch of space sirens we didn't really want, obviously. Oh boy. Okay. We also are going to put one in every one of these rockets. Missed. And we even have some spares. So, that is one single Spidertron for every single supporter. On top of that, I do need to start saving mini-me's, because as we saw, there were a few losses in this series. So what we're going to do is we're going to launch them into space, partly to save them from the tyranny that is JD, partly for, you know, if anybody wants to circle their ship back, they can always come back and pick up some crew, because whatever you guys are going to do to them is probably better than any of the things that I've done to the mini-me's during this series, considering we've killed off 5.4 thousand of them, and most of them were due to negligence. Yes, we'll call it negligence. That's what you would call it when you either make sure the mini-me's are out mining past the defensive wall and getting eaten by biters, or are running across train tracks to mine the active train tracks. This one also had a safe crossing, so we had a couple of people donate safe crossings to hopefully stop the mini-me's getting eaten, and well, eaten. Went over by trains, and it wasn't exactly always helpful. Sometimes, occasionally, the walls that safeguard the mini-me's from crossing would raise whilst the mini-me's were on the tracks and trap them in between. Yeah, like that. And trap them in between the two sets of walls. That way the train could definitely never, ever miss them. But with all that said, base tour. Actually, before we do a base tour, it has often been requested in every single series that I look at the all production stats, just to go over some of the insane stuff that we've done this series. So, 2.4 billion iron ore, and the same with copper. With we also have a couple of clashes with this one because we're going to have stacked and non-stacked items. You have to remember, a stacked item is worth 25 times the amount. So when it says 1.1 billion copper cable, it actually means 27.5 billion copper cable overall. Same with normal copper cable, 1.1 billion. Green circuits. Green circuits are one of the ones that I'm always shocked about. That is 672 million at a stack of 25 green circuits. That's insane. Same goes for our iron and our copper. Significant amounts. Red circuits is much the same. Oh, I want to know whether we got the red circuit achievement in the blue. Oh, we definitely got the red circuit achievement in the blue variety. If you remember in the achievements list, there is... No, not that one. Where is the achievement? Ah, this one. Mass Production 3. Produced 20 million electronic circuits. Now, that is not in a single game. That is over the whole lifetime of you playing Factorio. Obviously, in our production stats, in the All tab, in this particular series, we completed that in the blue variety, which is... I guess that's my qualification for a mega base. You need to be able to make 20 million blue circuits, because that's ridiculous. Other interesting stats, like 4.4 thousand substations, 4.2 thousand steam turbines. Like, we have some pretty... 18 million rocket parts. Obviously, we've made a whole lot less than what you'd expect because of the productivity modules, but that's ridiculous. Speed module... Speed module 6 stacker 25 is at 3.1k. Where is the unstacked variety? Not in the right-hand side of the list. 10 million uranium. Wow. Several million science packs, just in case you wanted a little bit of science. 1.6 thousand satellites. Okay, that's a little bit. 2.8 million refined concrete. We've had a little bit of that as well. 1.6 million space science. Obviously, I destroyed a whole lot in that supporters rocket. Where are we? 1.2 million speed module 3s. I can't find module 6s. That's a ridiculous amount of science as well. That's module 3 still. 417 nukes. That's not bad. 236,000 uranium fuel cells. And I only recycled 231,000. So somewhere out on the map, there's 5,000 uranium fuel cells. I have no idea where. They're probably in central storage, which is its own separate mess. That's module 4s rather. 67,000 stacked uranium 235. Again, ridiculous numbers. That's module 5s. Eventually we'll get to module 6s. 5s. 11,000 bots. There we go. 8.8 thousand speed module 3s. I have no idea where the productivity modules are. I have no idea where the... I made a couple of spiders. I have no idea where the other stacked ones are. They must be in the right-hand side list, which I obviously missed. There we go. Stacked productivity module 6. We've only made 930. That's way lower than I thought. And the speed modules, no, speed modules must be above that because we've been mass producing them for quite some time. There we go. 3.1 thousand stacked speed module 6s. So yeah, we've produced a ridiculous amount. We've consumed a ridiculous amount. If you're actually curious to look at these stats for yourself, there is a map save down in the description. You can always... Actually, no, it won't be in the description because YouTube doesn't like me putting files in the description, so you'll actually find it. You'll find a link to a Twitter post. On the Twitter post, you shall find the link to the map. That's the way I've got to do things. Unfortunately, I do apologize. But by all means, if you want to have a look around the base yourself, you can go and grab a copy of the save. So, let's do a quick base tour. We're going to start, obviously, probably not going to run there. We're going to start with iron, because everything starts with iron. So, we're doing the mini-me's in the mining depots, mining stacked ore. So, they're bringing in stacked ore directly. We're then smelting it in its stacked variety and running the iron ore all the way up till it passes copper. Again, we're mining stacked. We're running it straight into smelters, pre-stacked. Comes out stacked. We run the iron beside the copper, sort of. We do have an extra booster iron from a separate smelting over here. So we do have technically like a lane and a half of iron coming in at a lane and a half of stacked iron coming in at 75 items per second. So a lot. Yes. And then iron obviously starts at the start of the bus, which we can actually go stand over there. At least then we get sound of the rockets going in the background. So iron obviously comes in. First thing we do is we split it out to gears. Gears we put on the main bus, mainly so you have one spot where you can productivity module them, rather having to prod mod them all over the base. Our very first gear machine has done, oh my, what? That is 8 million gears. That's a little bit. He's got two friends who got put down way later than he was, which have got 73,000 gears each. So not bad numbers, I'd have to say. And then, of course, after you have gears on the bus, next thing you need is green circuits. Green circuits has been upgraded, because you never have enough green circuits. And in saying that, oh my, what number is that? That is 2 million green circuits. And his friend on the other side has done just as many. So that is a whole bunch of green circuits. Obviously, the ones further behind are later editions and have, therefore, smaller numbers. But even then, each one of their numbers is quite ridiculous at like 1.5 million and above. Plus, we have a disco spider, which I broke 10 episodes ago and has still been dancing around in circles, never actually reaching his target. Back to the bus, we have, next item on the bus is the actual workshop. The workshop, which I'll hopefully remember to link a video up in the top right hand corner. This is my workshop. It does come in many blueprints in many stages, and obviously we've used those blueprints to upgrade this from like level 1 to level 2, level 3, as we've unlocked more and more sites. As you can see, I have dumped some extra stuff on the end to make like purple belts and green belts. But relatively, it's unchanged. I've also added some stuff at the start because, you know, Factorio Extended, but relatively it's unchanged, apart from the massive amount of... Oh, there's some of those uranium cells I was talking about. The massive amount of storage that I've had to add onto the system because JD was lazy. And even though all the time I have spent in proper recycling, it was obviously not enough if your storage looks like this. Obviously, I should have probably requested all the artillery shells that we don't need to a special location and then shot the box, along with a couple of other items like explosives, nuclear reactors, because we're not using those anymore, maybe the uranium fuel cells. A few items should have been requested away. Really? We have... That's a lot of fast and light drives doing nothing. Okay. So we then have on to our little bit bot more that I threw on the side for a lot of the Factorio extended stuff. We of course have our rocket solos. Each one is done not quite 1,000 rockets each. Unfortunately, I did rip up the earlier ones and put them back down, so we did lose the earlier numbers. But, you know, we can see with 183,000 rockets launched, obviously, well, like these ones have done 3,000 apiece. Obviously, there's been a little bit of rocket launching in this particular series. Next item we have on the bus is our red circuit builds. Our red circuit builds look a little bit weird, look a little bit funny, and the main reason is they're designed to use 14 green circuits per second, and they're actually a build that we brought from over here, because we have these tiny little builds that do directly iron into direct copper into green circuits and copper cable, and have like a, you know, the best we can get and the smallest footprint we can get, which do 13.8. So the idea of our red circuit build is we can have 2 of these fitting into one of those previous builds rather than running off the main bus. And it was just, we got the build up and running. Jetty was lazy. He blueprinted an existing build. So we have that. On top of that, we have all our fuss and light, or all our spaceship components. Yes, our spaceship components, of which there are a number of them to build the SubX spaceships. So yeah, they got dumped in here along with a whole bunch of uranium fuel that we had to bring in to run our poor little fuel cells, because that needed 1,000 nuclear fuel per craft, which is, turns out, it's really hard to fly or belt in, and also very hard to get in a machine fast enough. Next up we have is one of our very early mining depots. We actually put this one in the middle of the bus because we were building straight over this copper, but it's okay because the mining drones will actually dig under a building up to 1 tile deep. So if you have a 3x3 building, it'll obviously leave the ore right in the middle, but belts and everything else, they'll happily dig under. So yeah, they've been very busy cleaning, or doing their best to clean out any ore in and under our bus. Unfortunately, they didn't get there. Probably has something to do with mining drone productivity number 378. Because we've had a little bit of science running for a little bit of time, our researchers got a little bit out of hand. Like, standing mining productivity is up to level 104, which does mean we could very easily directly mine a miner into a train for ore, assuming we were mining into trains. So far everything has been belt based from Outpost, because it's just been quicker and it's been easier, and because we're using stacked recipes, moving items at like 25 times the density with purple belts at 75 items per second, there just wasn't the need for trains in this particular series. On top of that, we have robots workers speed 15 is done, 16 is the next research at 1 million packs, and we also have mining drone speed level 18 at 1 million packs. No, 17's done, 18 would be the next one at 1 million packs. So yes, we've been screaming through just a touch of research. Next items we have on the bus is obviously red science along with green science and blue science. These got put into an area where there was a lot of space, and then we sort of built around them as the series continued. We have purple science, obviously, followed by some blue circuits. We have some blue circuit on blue circuit on blue circuit production, which we'll cover in just a second. The next item we actually have is our portable fusion reactors, which, as you can see, have 9 belts inputting blue circuits, along with 2 belts inputting low density structures at 75 items per second, to just keep up with the production, because we needed to make 100 of these per minute, which meant that was a lot of materials going into these particular builds. Next up, we have accumulators. Accumulators were used to create our tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3 to tier 4 to tier 5 to tier 6 to tier 8 accumulators, basically so we can run the whole base off this little solar stamp. Yeah, because each accumulator stores 81 gigajoules worth of power, and each solar panel outputs 983 megawatts. So it's a little bit insane. Next up on the build list, we have low density structures to make. Where's purple science? Oh, we did purple science. Okay, we have our high-tech science. Utility science got renamed. I forgot. Got renamed, I think it was during this series. So we have utility science pumping out here, and that pretty much completes our science. Next up, we have a speed module 1, an efficiency module 1, and speed 2s and efficiency 2s. These are actually made for the Factorio extended components. We needed a significant amount of them for upgrading to bigger and better assembly machines. Yes, They need speed and efficiency, along with chem plants, maybe? Where's chem plants and refineries? Furnaces, yeah. They were basically used for Factorio Extended. That's what I'm looking for. Refineries and chem plants. So we needed a decent amount of speed and efficiency too. So these were making 3s originally, and then they've been trimmed down since. Next up, we have battery production. I can't even remember why we need such significant battery production, but I do remember we did at some stage. They're used for something. In saying this is probably the least used build out of the whole base. You've only done 22,000 batteries, so you know, personal batteries that is, so you know, pretty low numbers. Lastly, we have our shields. We needed to make a protection field for our every single SpaceX spaceship. We need 100 energy shield Mark IIs, which led to this monstrosity, which eats 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 belts of steel with 4 belts of red circuits to make personal shield 1, personal shield 1, personal shield 1, personal shield 1, to then come down here and run these 4 machines flat out, making personal shield 2s. Next 2 items we have on the bus are, of course, our hull components. Hull components were used, 10 of which for every single SpaceX spaceship. So as you can see, the first machine's done 63,000 and the second machine's done almost 10,000. Last we have is a second portable fusion reactor build, because the first one was not nearly enough. So that brings us the lower part of, well, the lower part of the upper part of the bus. Behind these builds, we have certain things like our labs. Our labs are squeezed up here, right beside red circuits. We also have a green circuit build to run these, blue circuit builds to run this fusion reactor, along with a couple of booster green circuit builds to run more blue circuits. We have our solar panel construction to make these wonderful solar panels here, because a Solar Mark II requires 4 solar panel Mark 1s, and then a Solar Mark III requires 4 solar panel Mark 2s, which require 4, oh my god, 4. Which is a whole bunch of solar panels after you get up to the Mark 8 versions. But then again, they do produce almost a gigawatt worth of power each. Next up we have is going to be more green circuits for more blue circuits, with 1 more tagged here on the end, just underneath all the supporter names, which was slowly cut back as we had more and more supporters that had to put their names up. Next up we have Rocket Alley with Rocket Row number 1, Rocket Row number 2, and Rocket Row number 3. Beside all those, we have a couple more builds thrown in. We have there we go. We have a low density structure build, which brings low density structures and brings them straight up and puts them on the bus. Yes, this base was insane enough that we had to run low density structures on a bus through the middle of the base, because we just used an insane amount of materials. Next up we have behind that is obviously the components required to make low density structures, along with a bumper steel build to re-inject steel halfway through the bus. We also have uranium processing down here. This is a separate build which we'll get to shortly. So we have a whole bunch of mini-me's doing a whole bunch of uranium, which we're then going to process into shiny and dull rocks. Dull rocks obviously went into the storage from hell, I don't know, a giant buffer before being span out into our Covarex processes. We actually have 2 Covarex processes here because we needed shiny rocks in a hurry. In saying that, a single Covarex process makes 1.48 per second, which, when you consider it, it is actually quite a lot. It's like 90 per minute, 90 shiny rocks per minute. That is enough to run a lot of nuclear reactors or make a couple of nukes every minute. So yeah, this was our 2 Covarex builds. We have the first build, which kicks out its excess here, which then funnels into the second build, which then kicks its excess out here, which came up here to make nuclear fuel. Just a tiny bit of nuclear fuel, and the nuclear fuel was obviously required to run the machine directly opposite it to make those lovely supporter fuel cells. So that's the below the bus done. Down here above the bus done, we do have a few more things that we managed to squeeze in. So we had our separate module build over here. This is one of the very, very early ones, which has been through upgrade, and revision. So we had some green circuits as the basic green circuits. We're bringing in copper, bringing in iron, processing it as simply as possible into 17, 18 green circuits per second, which is running into a dedicated red circuit build, which is then running into a, come on, let me through, dedicated blue circuit build, which is then coming all the way down here and making a dedicated module area. This has served us well. This has made a whole bunch of modules. It does make everything between tier 1 and actually tier 4, with an option to kick out the tier 3s to make sure we have definitely enough tier 3s in stock, with some tier 4s if we require them. Next up we have is a rocket fuel build, and then oil to our left. Rocket fuel we can walk through because it's not too bad with pipes, but it was designed just to make rocket fuel. That's the only thing that this whole monstrosity makes. It takes all the heavy oil, cracks it down, well, up to light, down to light, whichever it happens to be, converts that into solid fuel to then make rocket fuel, and takes the petroleum that the refinery's output, obviously just converts that straight into solid fuel to again be turned into rocket fuel. Next up we have is oil. Now oil, there is no way I'm going to walk through that. Oil is plastic build number 3 with plastic build number 2 with plastic build number 1. We also have our basic oil here, which again went through a number of revisions, went through a number of upgrades. It served us well. We have heavy oil cracking, obviously. We have light oil cracking. We were converting a whole bunch of light oil into solid fuel to also make our big, giant rocket fuel build that did see us through a good portion of the game. Like, you can look at these assembly machines, they have like 3,000. Oh wow, that's got 152,000 crafts on it. That is insane. We also have our battery build over here along with our acid build. Right above that we do have our very original uranium processing, so we're unloading uranium, bringing it up here and converting it into both our shiny and dull rocks. As you can see, some of these centrifuges have like 100,000 crafts on them, so you know, we have processed a certain amount of uranium during the series, which of course we were buffering off the dull rocks, bringing the shiny rocks out, running through our Coverx process, which as you can see has backed up because we're just not using it, to also make a crap ton of rocket fuel. We went through our nuclear fuel. We went through a lot of it, not so much in running trains, mainly in actual building of parts. Last things we have over here is our titanium build that is required for Factorio Extended, along with that very, very early iron booster build and a steel build that goes straight into the Logi network because we needed a bunch of steel. The reason we needed so much steel was for this, our solar panel Mark 2 upgrade into Mark 3, into Mark 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Those things chew a lot of material. Perfectly balanced mod, I cannot agree more, but it eats material. Last thing we have is actually our main smelter block, which was doing like iron and copper and stone and brick and all those fun things, has basically been converted into a giant steel build, which for all that said and done, outputs not a lot of steel. They are stack steel, so you know each one of those symbols is technically a stack of 25, so it's probably a significant portion of a belt, but it just looks like it's just slowly spitting out some steel occasionally. On top of that we have brick smelting. We have 2 of those back to back because we need a whole bunch of brick. Main reason is, as you can see, every single tile on the map, at least on this portion of the map, is black. The reason it is black is we did originally put down refined concrete everywhere, but refined concrete is just not good enough for my base, okay? I want better than refined concrete. So we actually upgraded that to plascrete. So plascrete requires the refined concrete plus some plastic plus some more steel with a whole bunch of water, and you halve the amount of refined concrete that went in. So you went from 20 down to 10, so you need a lot more of it. And then I've actually upgraded that to Tefloncrete, which means you need 20 plascrete and 100 lubricant to make some Tefloncrete, and I chose the black because, you know, let's face it, Teflon is black. On top of that, it also halves it again. So for 40 tiles worth of hazard concrete, you go to 10 tiles of Tefloncrete. But it does mean that you can walk around the map in a hurry. And I almost finished concreting everything. At least the main base. The main base was the main concern. Let's just grab that real quick and run that through. I definitely don't have enough to finish this. not in stock. But like we're making it at an amazing rate. So it'll be done in like, I don't know, half hour. So that's our oil build. So this is our main base. Now, we do have a couple of other things tagged on. As you can see, we have this significant build here with bots going back and forth. Oh, we have a couple of these thrown down, which just mass make modules with a whole bunch of robots. Ignore the wires. The wires are definitely special, and the best thing is if you do this, the wires all go away. We have these significant builds down here. This was our first off-site project that was sort of on-site as well, where we were making modules. So we have dedicated smelters, as you can see, making green circuits, which we're then bringing down here to make blue circuits, with a dedicated red circuit build down here, with a second dedicated red circuit build, with extra green circuits being brought in from the top to make module ones to make, hang on, we'll find it. Oh shit, we're finished. Congratulations, you built over 7,500 SubX spaceships. Bob, your trusty construction bot has delivered them all to their, turns out that's too long, their owners, it turns out it says. Now you're done building, you can rest. Decision time, keep launching or time for a new series? I think it's time for new crash. Well, with all that said, I definitely think it's time for a new series. We didn't get to tour everything else, but I figure the game has said time is enough. Time is enough. It means this is the end of SubX Redux. I need to thank every single person. I can't name everybody because it's been proven already that I'm bad with names. I murder names, and I definitely forget names. So, every single person that has clicked subscribe, thank you. Every single person that watches the videos, whether you watch them daily, whether you watch them weekly, whether you sit down and you binge watch a whole series from start to end, I need to thank you, okay? It means the world to me. This whole channel started out as a half-assed attempt to cover my YouTube premium membership, and it has over the last 3 years turned into something actually serious. So again, I need to thank you guys so much. I need to thank every single Patreon supporter, every single Twitch subscriber, and every single YouTube member. You guys mean the world to me. You guys have, like, you don't realize how far you guys go. Just basics like full computer rebuild in the last 12 months was supported by the channel, okay? Otherwise, I would have lived with my old crappy computer because it did the job I wanted it to do. It played the games that I wanted to play. It didn't record, it didn't stream, it didn't do all the other things that are above and beyond, but, you know, for basic gaming, it did what I wanted. So, again, every single one of those supporters, thank you so much. You guys make such a difference. On top of that, I do need to have a special thanks. So I have to have a special thanks to Lord Couture. Lord Couture, who actually wrote SubX originally, or SpaceX originally, has obviously customized it for my needs, my liking. On top of that, I also need to thank Muppet. Muppet is one of the main mod creators between all the fun things that happen over on Twitch with my community maps. He's been doing odd job modding work for me for a year. I need to thank both Niles, FD Ethan, and Hornwitzer. Niles and so Niles helped me take the first 2,000 names, 1,000 names I think I had, which were all emailed to me, and convert that into the very first list for SubX. And then Hornwitzer helped update the list with a script that would pull them straight out of YouTube. It was messy. It sort of worked. And then FD Ethan really came through, and with limited access, because obviously he can't access my YouTube backend, we managed to brute force code our way through to a very easy way for me to grab every single person's name, which means, in theory, when I'm done talking, we're going to have a credits list at the end with every single person's name. So I need to thank each one of those people. They have made such a difference. I again, like I said, I know I'm forgetting people, but it's been one hell of a series. It's been a hell of a series that's gone over 5 months, which is probably my longest series total. There was like 24 episodes for Rocket Rush, plus 130 for SubX, and then another 30 odd for SubX Redux. So we're approaching the 200 episodes, which is insane. So thank you guys, everybody. Thank you everybody for watching. There will be a new series starting. It won't be starting straight away. You'll find all the details out in tomorrow's channel update video. I strongly recommend you come and have a look at that. At the same time, you've obviously seen with this series, I do a whole bunch of stuff over on Twitch, which is entirely separate from what I do on YouTube. In fact, actually, currently I'm playing Factorio and Space Exploration over on Twitch. On top of that, you can come join our Discord. On Discord, you can find out all sorts of interesting things, like when we're doing the next community map, what we're doing for the community maps. You can have input on some of the mods and some of the ideas that come up for different Factorio series when one's ending and one's starting. On top of all that sort of fun stuff, you can get access to the second YouTube channel, which has all the live streams. So if you're not around when I happen to be streaming, which I find a lot of people in the US aren't, because JD streams late night Australian, which is super, super early the day before in the US. Yep. Time zones. You can always grab a link to the second YouTube channel there and start watching the videos there. But with all that said, I'm calling it here. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for sitting through 180, 190. I have no idea. It's up here in this top corner. Rocket launches with me. Thank you for clicking the subscribe button. With all that said, I'm calling it here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next series. All right. Bye.